Hi, Amy. We're here today with Amy Teller to talk about the DMC 661 Audience Segmentation Course. So, Amy, if you could, just to kick off our conversation, take a couple of minutes to talk about your professional experience and what you do in your day job.
Thank you, Chad. Thanks so much for having me. I'm really excited to be here and talk about this program. Again, my name is Amy Teller. My day job, in between, of course, teaching my children in this hybrid schedule, is I'm a marketing strategist consultant. So I work with startup companies and really implement all the things that we are teaching you in this program in terms of market research, background research, looking for market trends, doing audience segmentation and targeting, figuring out how we can position the brand and then promote it. So really implementing every single thing we teach in this program. I also am an instructor at the College of William & Mary, where I teach marketing in their online MBA program and also in their online Masters of Marketing program. And then, of course, I love teaching in this program. So it's all marketing all the time, every day, and I love it.
It sounds like you stay plenty busy. So what makes you passionate about audience segmentation? What drew you to it in terms of a profession or field that you wanted to work in?
Well, so I may be biased because clearly I love audience segmentation, but it really is the crux of all the marketing disciplines. So by that, I mean, you have to know who your audience is. Who are you selling to? What are their needs? What are their pain points? What are their frustrations? Marketing today is all about being customer centric and taking that personalized approach. And you have to have a deep understanding of your audience to do that. And it really does impact every aspect of your marketing strategy. So it impacts your product features, design features, packaging features. It impacts your pricing, right? Whether you're going to price, your strategy, pricing low, pricing high. It impacts to go through the 4 Ps of marketing, your place, right? So your distribution strategies. How are you going to reach your customer? Where are they, right? So what channel are they on? Are they on social? What platform? And then, of course, your promotional. That includes things like your communications, right? So what is your message? Making sure that that's a message that's going to resonate with your target. So it really, it impacts everything. And so that's why I get so excited about it, because I feel like once you understand segmentation and targeting, then everything else can fall into place. And you can really meet your marketing objectives and your business objectives. Of course, I feel it is really critical. And it's exciting to you deal with data, right? So you can really look at a lot of research and information and make those data-driven decisions, right? Make those supported data-backed decisions that can have a real impact. So I think it's really fun, and I think the students really find it's fun once they get it. They can see how impactful it is.
So I know professionally, I mean, obviously the last few years have really seen a change in the industry and how we approach, because of the just the availability of the data that we have on consumers. So how has your work changed even in the last couple of years as the industry has adapted and responded to all of this new information?
That is such an excellent question. Honestly, with that, it's incredible because we have access now to real time, up to the minute data, right? So everything from geolocation information to really easy access, free access information that everyone has the ability to, tap into. So things like Google Trends, Google AdWords, Facebook audience segmentation. You can go into those programs and have a sample size of 2 million people and have access to all that information, demographics, geographics, what are their interests, what pages do they like, their platforms that they are interested in, and also their whether they prefer desktop or mobile devices. And all of that information is constantly changing. So in Google Trends, you go in there and you can see who is, how many people are searching for this search trend, and you can see the changes over time, and you can see cyclical patterns. You can see there's a heat map in there where you can see variations based on where they are in the country. So there's so much information now that is up to date and constantly changing. So you really have your finger on the pulse of your consumer in a way that we never did before. We were always looking at past data, sometimes data that was even a year old, which, as we know, in this digital market, that changes so quickly. It can be something completely different. So we can use that information to really create a strong competitive advantage and position ourselves really strategically in a way that we never could before.
Great. It's an exciting segment of the industry for sure. So what are the top 3 things that students will learn in DMC 661 that they can apply to their careers or in their careers?
That's a great question. So, first of all, what is audience segmentation, right? It is really the practice of taking a group of people and segmenting them into different subgroups based on certain characteristics, right? So that could be geographic characteristics, demographic characteristics, psychographic characteristics, what are their likes and interests, and behavioral characteristics, how often do they purchase online, that sort of thing. And then it is the process of targeting. So you take, that information, and as a brand, you can decide based on the characteristics of this group, which group is going to be the most profitable for us to target. And that's based on things like the size of the segment, the growth rate of the segment, the way the segment fits in with the brand's personal identity, right? So anyone who is interested in getting into the industry or is already working in the industry can take that information and apply it in their work, because, as I said, it really does impact every aspect of your marketing strategy from beginning to end. Really developing that deep understanding of knowing who your target is. There's also something we call a persona, and that's where you give your target market an identity, right? So you give her a name, you give her, an age, a job. You really dive and dig down deep into what her pain points are, what is she interested in, and that allows you to really develop a deep understanding of your target in a way that is really beneficial for developing those personalized, customer-centric marketing approaches. So we give students these tools that they can use. Like I said, there's free access to a lot of these tools, whether it's Facebook Audience Insights, Google Keywords, Google Trends. These are all things that we all have access to, and you can search on a daily basis and really have a deep understanding and finger on the pulse of your target segment that you can then apply to anything that you do in the marketing industry, whether that is coming up with copy to write for, your display ad, or if you're trying to determine which social media platform might be best to reach a particular target. Because as we say in the marketing world, it's all about targeting the right person at the right time and the right place. And audience segmentation will definitely help you do that.
Great. So thinking about the courses, the course assignments themselves, what can you tell us a couple of things about some of the assignments that a student will complete in DMC 661? What can they expect in terms of the type of assignments?
That's a great question. So marketing is data-based. So we do have some assignments that have to do with a little bit of data wrangling via Excel, where students get the opportunity to actually go into an Excel spreadsheet with data in it. And then we teach them the tools to analyze that data. How can they run, say, a correlation on that data to determine if two different variables are related? And if they're related, then that might not be the best way to segment your data. So we actually teach them how to analyze data. And then the whole course, builds on itself, so that by the end of the course, they actually are going to be presenting a segmentation strategy on a brand of their choice, which is really fun. So they can actually take all of the little tools that we provide them throughout the entire semester and directly apply it to a real case and determine, what audience do they think would be the best, most profitable target for a particular brand. So that just gives you a little bit of a hint on some of the things that we do. And throughout the week, there's also opportunities for students to have discussions with one another. And what is so great about that is it allows them the opportunity to learn from each other. So in these discussions, they have the ability to really read through other their peers' posts to develop a deeper understanding, and then they have the opportunity to offer their peers feedback. So in the academic world, that peer review is so important in that collaborative learning, right? So it really does take this idea of kind of a crowdsourcing of information where everyone has the ability to offer their input and their expertise in a certain area or learn from each other. And then you really get to see this evolution of thought process in these discussions. So there's a discussion each week, and then there is also a written assignment each week, where then the students have the opportunity to take what they've learned through their readings and through the course lectures and videos and apply it to their specific course-long audience segmentation project.
That's great. So one of the questions that students often ask when they're planning out, their schedules or looking at upcoming terms is they ask about the workload intensity of a course, and obviously they're trying to balance, graduate studies with other life responsibilities. So on a scale of 1 to 5, with 1 being the least intensive and 5 being the most intensive, how would you rate the DMC 661 audience segment course? And then what made you give it that intensity rating?
Oh, that's a tough question. So, of course, I'm going to go with the gray area, and it varies. So, certain assignments are going to be more challenging to different types of students depending on their comfort level. So, for example, some of the Excel assignments, if you're not comfortable with Excel, if it's been a while since you've used Excel, those might be a little bit more labor intensive. You need to allow yourself a little bit more time to get back up to speed. in general, I would say it's probably averages out to be about a 4. Um, and the reason why I say that is because what I found is once students get into audience segmentation and they really understand it, uh, it's interesting, and you and it's hard not to go down some of those rabbit holes when you're doing this research, and to spend a lot of time with the material because it is interesting. The tools that we provide are fun and exciting. Um, so I would give it a 4 overall. And by that, I mean students should probably allow about 20 hours a week for their studies. And that's broken up by initial discussion posts. I think about 5 to 6 hours for that, including reading, background reading, 2 to 3 hours for replies to their peers, and then allowing about 5 to 6 hours for writing assignments, doing background research, that sort of thing. So it is intensive, it's labor intensive. So I really my goal is always to be very transparent, with our expectations, and knowing that, we do ask a lot from our students, but the reason for that is because you will get a lot out of this program if you put the time in, and it's really critical. um yeah.
That's great. So what are the most important things that you think a student needs to do in order to be successful in DMC 661?
uh First and foremost, it's really a very simple formula. And so I tell this to all my students. You just need to read all the course materials, um, and directly apply them in your assignments, and then support your reasonings. So if you do those 3 things, I guarantee you're going to be successful in this program. So you have to do the readings. That's where the learning comes into play, right? That's where it's sort of this passive learning process where you're absorbing the information. And then through the assignments, that's where you apply the information. And that's where you develop a more active approach to learning, where you're really solidifying these concepts in your mind. And part of that process is teaching students how to communicate, whether that's written communication skills or oral communication skills. And with that comes the ability to organize your thoughts, make an argument, and support it with research, both from the course materials and outside research as well. And we teach you how to do that throughout the program.
Great. So in previous courses or previous sections of this course, you may have had students that have been able to take what they learned in the course and apply it immediately in their day jobs. Can you think of an example that you could share?
Yeah, so I did have a student who worked in the auto industry in Detroit, Michigan. And she was working on an active campaign for this past Super Bowl, for a commercial. And she said she was able to take the information that she's used in this program and in audience segmentation, to reinforce and to really improve their approach to the project.
Great. So Amy, what is your personal teaching style? How do you meaningfully engage students in your courses?
So that's a great question. And what I love about teaching at West Virginia University is that the class sizes are small. And I love that because it allows me to provide students with more personalized and individualized attention as they, as needed. So what I love about that is what I try to do, because we do have a lot of different types of students coming in, right? So there are some who are recent college graduates who may be a little bit more familiar with the cadence of, say, the academic rigors, but don't have a lot of experience in the industry. We have older adult learners who have maybe, 5 to 10 years experience in the industry, and very specifically in, their head of social media for their department, or they work directly with in their digital marketing department. So they have a lot of experience, but maybe it's been a while since they've been in the academic realm. And so what I love about that is really teaching to where they're at this moment. So I really do take an individual approach. And my goal is for each student to make an improvement throughout the 8 weeks that I have them. So whatever that may look like, my goal is to teach them material, but I want to see, I try to challenge them and see that evolution of thought throughout the program. And again, teach to where they are at the moment and looking for that improvement over time. So what I like to do a lot is to really engage students through one-on-one sessions. So I encourage students to reach out to me. I have a Calendly. They can go into my schedule and just pick a slot, and I'll show up for their Zoom call. And I like to work with them on a one-to-one level. And I like to do that for a couple of different reasons. First and foremost, because it helps me develop a deeper understanding of their understanding of the material and how I can help support them the most. And also because sometimes what gets lost in the asynchronous virtual learning environment is that face-to-face interaction. And sometimes I feel there are different types of learners. Some are more independent learners. Some need that more collaborative back and forth learning. And so what I love to do is just bouncing ideas off of them and seeing that aha moment where it clicks and they get it. And that's what I love for. Other things that I like to do, I like to use some tools, namely VoiceThread is a tool that allows for that kind of face-to-face feeling, but in an asynchronous environment. So sharing little videos and audio or text in the capacity of, say, a discussion. And what that does is it kind of provides that collaborative learning, dynamic learning, that back and forth interaction that we look for in class discussions in a face-to-face situation, but it allows you to do that in an asynchronous environment. And what I found is that that allows me to showcase my excitement about the topic. And I think that it can be, and then I feed off of their excitement as well. So it's contagious. And what that does is it really does make for a really engaging discussion where I feel like we get there's some great meat in there where we get some really good back and forth. And ultimately, I feel like the students are then able to really gain a deeper understanding of the concepts, which of course is our ultimate goal.
Fantastic. So what do you think defines you as an instructor?
Oh, goodness. Chad, that's a good one.
I'm sorry, I was not trying to give you trick questions.
What defines me as an instructor? So I would say what defines me as an instructor is really my desire to make those personal connections with students. By the end of the course, I feel almost like they are friends. And I always encourage them to keep in touch. And a lot of them do, or I'll touch base with them even after our course is over. Because I think anytime you go through a challenging moment with someone, it's hard not to create that sort of connection. And I feel, especially not only in these times, but also in an asynchronous learning environment, making those connections is really what it's all about. And seeing them, I want to know kind of, what's going on in their life. How can we, let's work together to come up with a way that we can help you learn the material. So making those like personal connections, I would say that's probably one of my defining characteristics as an instructor. And also that I get really excited about the material when I start teaching it, because I am a big dork. So um,
We all
I
have our
think,
things, right?
so I think, yeah. So being a big dork who wants to make a connection with the students, that probably sums up my approach in a nutshell.
It's awesome. So you probably have already covered this, but just what do you enjoy most about teaching DMC 661?
First and foremost, I love the topic.
Mhm.
Really interesting. The course materials that we provide are fantastic. The lessons are solid. The textbook is fantastic. The customer-centric approach to marketing is key. And really having students have the ability to practice these real world applications of concepts through things like some of the assignments, the Excel assignments, coming up with basically their own proposal. Um, that is probably one of my favorite things. And then, of course, using tools like VoiceThread really helped me to get more connected to the course and the students and the concepts as well. But what I love most specifically about West Virginia University is a small class size. So I can really spend my time making those connections and ensuring that they leave my course with a solid understanding of the concepts. And then also, it's again making those personal connections with students, and yeah,
That's fantastic. And the last thing I would ask, just to make sure that I didn't leave anything out, is there anything that I didn't ask that you thought I would or should, and or anything else you'd like to share about the DMC 661?
think about that for a second. Um, well, I think it would be great to share a positive story.
Okay.
So there was one student who was really struggling in the beginning of the course, um, trying to acclimate to graduate life and really developing a, a schedule of how to go about approaching these topics. And she was really struggling. And so we had done the usual asynchronous back and forth where I provide a lot of feedback and to her assignments, but there was still something that was not quite clicking. And so we just had a 20-minute phone conversation where we were able to really quickly get to the root of her misunderstanding. And what I loved is it was almost as if you could hear the light bulb go off, where she literally had like oh, like I get it now moment, one of those aha moments. And I'm getting chills just thinking about it. But and that's all she needed was that, like, for whatever reason we couldn't quite get there writing back and forth, but just that phone conversation we were able to really get to the heart of her misunderstanding. Once she got it, that's all she needed. And then she shined for the rest of the program and really succeeded in the course. So that's one of my favorite stories, because that is what I live for as an instructor, to see that moment where I'm able to make a real impact and help them understand what these concepts are so that they can then take it and run.
Great. Thank you very much.